Amara sat in the stately office of New Jerusalem Baptist Church. Pastor Williams's intense gaze hung over her like a heavy shadow. Despite her brother Chike's warnings, she hesitated to voice her inner doubts. "But, brother," she began, her voice trembling but resolute. Pastor Williams shook his head slightly and replied firmly, "Your brother may have good intentions, but he lacks spiritual authority. His words are not blessed enough to guide you. Trust me, brother Amara. Trust the Lord's appointed shepherd." Amara's heart sank. Pastor Williams had been a respected leader in the church for 30 years. His words sounded like the voice of God, but a voice inside her whispered that something was wrong. Pastor Williams's face held a hidden power behind his words. More than just a shepherd. Kwame was a major benefactor to the church. He had established a scholarship fund for Pastor Williams's son and covered his wife's hospital bills. Pastor Williams lived a comfortable life thanks to Kwame's help. Amara was just a small link in the chain. She tried to pray to quell the growing doubts within her. "Lord, lead me right," she whispered. But the darkness in her heart grew ever larger. Captivity in the shadow. When Amara moved from Atlanta to Valdosta, she didn't yet know that her life would change drastically. Kwame's radiant smile and bright words heralded a new beginning. But the truth would come to light over time. The first weeks were good. Their new home was large and comfortable. Kwame was devoted to his work, but he also made sure to be there for Amara. Everything seemed perfect to him. But soon Kwame's control began to take hold. "You can't meet your friends after work today," Kwame said at dinner one evening, his voice soft yet commanding. "It'll be better for you." Amara averted her eyes. "Why? I just want to breathe." "I'll take care of it," Kwame said, his gaze turning cold. "Your safety is my responsibility." As the days passed, Amara's world began to shrink. Her phone was constantly off or being controlled by Kwame. Messages from friends went unanswered. Kwame refused to return to work. One night, Amara secretly called her brother, Chike. "Something's wrong, brother," she said through tears. "That person has made me someone I've never been. Controlling, manipulative. He won't let me work. He won't let me see my friends." Chike's voice was resolute. "Come home now. Pack your bags. I'll get you out of here. I can't do this. There's no car here. He has the money. I'm his wife. I have to endure this," Amara said desperately. "Amara, listen to me. This man is dangerous. He could hurt you. You need to get help." The phone suddenly went dead. Kwame appeared behind Amara and severed the phone cord. "No more phones," she said coldly. "You'll be dependent on me for everything. Right now." Pregnancy and the trap. It was a cold November morning. Amara stood in the bathroom and looked at the pregnancy test stick she held in her hand. There were 2 lines positive. Her heart was filled with both love and fear. She had always wanted a child. But as she considered Kwame's true nature and the gravity of her situation, fear overwhelmed her. At first, Kwame greeted her with mock joy at the news. "Perfect," she said. "You can't go now." Amara flinched. "Where can't I go? I know you're planning to run away to your brother, but pregnant women don't run away. Pregnant women are docile. They obey," she said, her voice icy. She couldn't believe her eyes. "Why should I stay here? We're family." "Your family is only mine now," Kwame said. "Your loyalty is to me. Your goal is to have a son." As her pregnancy progressed, Amara's world shrank. Kwame sold his car, canceled his cell phone, even got rid of the television. Poison, she called it. For her, life couldn't be further from the boundaries Kwame had set. Her only bond of friendship was with the elderly Mrs. Robertson, who ran the town's small grocery store. Twice a week, Kwame would take her there. Mrs. Robertson was the only ray of hope in Amara's life. "Child, you look like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders," she said one day as she was counting bread. "I'm just exhausted," Amara said, trying to hide her voice. "I'm here, whenever you need me," Mrs. Robertson said, her eyes filled with experience. But Amara felt like a prisoner in her house. She felt like her body and life were no longer hers. The pregnancy had made Kwame hold her tighter. At night, she listened to Kwame's breathing, dreaming of escape. But she knew the road was long, the support was minimal, and she wanted the best for her baby. Discovering truths. One afternoon, Kwame had gone to work. Amara was home alone and busy with a small task, writing a letter to her grandmother. She was searching for old postage stamps to mail the letter. She decided to rummage through Kwame's home office to find the stamps she was looking for. The office was a heavily guarded area. There was a newly installed lock on the door, but Amara was so desperate that she found the strength. She unlocked it and went inside. It was dark inside, occupied only by a computer desk and a few files. As Amara rummaged through the drawers, she noticed a locked filing cabinet. The lock was easy to open. When she opened it, she found documents that would turn her life upside down. Bank statements, international money transfers. The documents recorded constant transfers of money to Ghana, Nigeria, and Kenya. There were photographs, many pictures of women, along with notes and descriptions, names, ages, family statuses, and, frighteningly, it all served as an inventory list. Her own name was there. Her status was marked pregnant. Her estimated due date was December. And, most alarmingly, next to it was a note, "To J. Thompson, Atlanta." Amara's hands were shaking. She pulled out an old camera she had secretly kept and took photos of the documents. Just as she was closing the file, the sound of Kwame's car was heard outside. She panicked. She quickly put the file back in its place and went to the kitchen. When Kwame walked through the door, she smiled and asked, "How was your day, darling?" Amara forced herself to remain calm. "Good." But Kwame's eyes drifted toward the office. His eyes narrowed slightly. At that moment, she realized Kwame suspected something. That night, Kwame installed a new lock on the office door. This lock was a latch that could only be opened with a key. Amara's hope slowly faded. Now she felt even tighter. The thread of the web. Days passed, and the fear and despair growing within Amara grew heavier. But her only hope was James Washington, the district police officer and nephew of the small town's old grocer. Mrs. Robertson, sensing Amara's hidden hope, called James. "James," she said, "this girl is in trouble. You see the fear in her eyes, don't you? You have to help her." James, hearing this call from years of experience, couldn't ignore it. He quietly began investigating. He gathered information about Kwame Asante, his business life, his mysterious consulting firm, and Amara. The stories he heard about Amara disturbed him. Kwame's recent appearance in Valdosta, his almost complete absence of a past, and the mystery of his constant cash flow caught James's attention. And most importantly, Amara's situation. The fact that she had been stripped of her freedom spurred him into action. James contacted the FBI to investigate further. There were federal agents there who had been tracking African-American human trafficking networks for years. The new information James had gathered caught their attention as well. The resulting data revealed Kwame Asante as if he were a ghost. He had no educational background, no work history, no family. He had seemingly appeared out of nowhere, imbued himself with a flawless image. The FBI had been monitoring Kwame and his network for years, but had been unable to file a lawsuit due to a lack of concrete evidence. Amara's experiences and the documents she found in his home office were the key pieces that would ultimately unravel the network. As James and the FBI agents prepared for the operation, darkness and fear grew within Amara. But her deepest hope was for help. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. Silently, she looked up at the stars and whispered, "Please save me. Birth and escape." In the final days of November, Amara's baby was growing. She was now just a few weeks away from giving birth, and her body was carrying both a miracle and fears for the future. Kwame's pressure was growing stronger every day. He had made her completely dependent on him, almost completely stripping her of her freedom. One morning, Amara woke up with sudden contractions. The contractions had begun. At first, she was terrified, but then she thought, "I have to hold on. I have to protect this baby." "Kwame!" she called out, but there was no answer. The man was either at work or not at home. Panic quickly grew within Amara, compounded by the pain. She had no phone. Her cell phone had been disconnected, and there was no one she could call. Her car had been sold, and she was prevented from leaving the house. Amara felt completely isolated. Instinctively, she opened the door and struggled outside. She began walking, drenched in sweat, the sky still dark. She didn't know the way, but all she knew was that she needed to reach the hospital. Half a mile later, a pickup truck stopped suddenly. An old man opened the door and helped her. "Where are you going, son?" he asked. "To the hospital. Please, help me," Amara pleaded. The man got into his vehicle and drove off. But at that moment, a black Mercedes appeared behind them, its headlights flashing. Amara's face paled. "He's my husband," she said, her breath catching in fear. The Mercedes stopped, Kwame got out, and approached, smiling as if he were helpful. "I was so scared when I couldn't find you," he said, but Amara knew his true colors. Kwame said they were going home, not to the hospital. The woman he'd brought with him, a cold-eyed midwife, she learned her name was Rosa. Rosa prepared for the birth as if she'd been at this job for years. But Amara was frightened by the words she overheard. Transport, receiver, disposal. After hours of agony, her baby was born. But Amara could only hold her baby briefly. Rosa picked him up and carried him to another room. "Your baby is going to be cared for," Rosa said. "You need to rest." Amara's heart was torn. Her little boy was being taken from her eyes. But she was determined. She would survive, she would fight. Throughout the night, she planned. She secretly hid the pills she had taken in her pocket. Despite the sedative, she was awake. When Kwame and Rosa were asleep, Amara slipped quietly out the back door. On her bare, bloody feet, exhausted and weak, she ran toward the cold forest. Her screams mingled with the wind. At the end of the road, a police car appeared. It was James Washington. In that moment, Amara felt safe and cried for help. "They took my baby. They're going to kill me," she said. Salvation and rebirth. At that moment, as Amara gasped for air, Deputy James Washington quickly got out of the car. His eyes held both concern and determination. "I'm here. You're safe now," he said calmly but firmly. With tears streaming down her face, Amara began to tell what had happened. Kwame's true nature, how he had set people up, how her baby had been taken, and how she had been threatened with death. James took immediate action. He picked Amara up in his car and drove her to the nearest hospital. Amara's injuries were as physical as they were psychological, but the most important thing at that moment was that she was alive and safe. At the hospital, doctors and nurses immediately responded. While Amara was being cared for, a psychological support team began monitoring the situation closely. Above all, little David had to be found safe. Deputy Washington contacted the FBI and requested assistance. The news, combined with the documents Amara had found, set the stage for a major operation. The hours were counting down for the operation. Kwame's house. FBI agents and local police surrounded Kwame's house and the surrounding area. Amara's account and the photographs she had secretly taken were now legal evidence. There was a loud knock on the door. Kwame and his men were caught off guard. During the raid, Kwame's other victims were found in the basement. The women were exhausted, frightened, and helpless, but they were all alive, and most importantly, David was found safe and sound. As the tiny baby was placed in his mother's arms for the first time, the tears in Amara's eyes were filled with joy. "David," Amara whispered, her hands shaking as she wrapped her son in her arms. In that moment, she was about to leave all her fears, pain, and dark moments behind. Deputy Washington came to her. "You're safe now. That man can't hurt anymore," he said. Amara took a deep breath. A glimmer of hope began to ignite within her. Amara's story was reported in the media. People marveled at her courage. Her voice suddenly became the voice of so many victims. But most importantly for Amara, she now had a real family, real support. Her brother, Chaik, visited Amara and David in the hospital. Tears welled in his eyes. "I'm proud of you. I believed in you, but you fought your own battle," he said. "Now we can start anew," Amara said. Justice and reconstruction. The courtroom was crowded. Amara tried to remain composed, but her heart was pounding. Her brother, Chaik, and supporters were by her side, as well as journalists covering the case, human rights activists, and many others. Kwame Asante's face was devoid of emotion. His cold gaze was tangible evidence of the horror Amara had endured. But this time, Amara wasn't afraid. Now, she faced not only a terrifying man, but a criminal. Amara told the jury her story with force and clarity. "I fell for his game. I thought we were lovers, but I didn't know I was actually being hunted," she said. Every word resonated deeply with the courtroom. Women, children, lives, it was all part of a trade. The court laid bare Kwame's crimes. Human trafficking, violence, threats, and more. The judge handed down a harsh sentence: life imprisonment. This decision was a major victory for the victims and their supporters. When Amara was released from custody after the trial, she had a newfound strength in her heart. She was no longer just a victim, but a warrior. Chaik continued to support Amara and David. Amara found a new home, resumed her work, and rediscovered her own strength. At the same time, she founded a charity called Esther's Voice. This organization supports victims of human trafficking and gives them a voice. Amara's eyes lit up as she spoke on stage. "I confronted my past and didn't succumb to it. I rebuilt my life. Every woman deserves freedom and love." David grew up, drawing strength from his mother's courage every day. New beginnings. The years were filled with challenges for Amara, but they also marked the beginning of healing and hope. She learned to stand on her own 2 feet and became a strong and loving mother to her son. One day, a man named Marcus entered Amara's life. Marcus was the young and visionary pastor of a local church. His calm and sincere demeanor brought the trust and peace Amara had long sought. Marcus welcomed Amara and David as if he had known them for years. In his presence, Amara gradually remembered what it meant to love again. Amara, along with Marcus, embarked on a process of both spiritual and emotional healing. Marcus always supported her. He listened to her pain, shared her fears, and most importantly, taught her to trust him again. David, on the other hand, grew up in a loving family environment. Marcus embraced her with love from a young age and became a father figure. A year later, Marcus and Amara had a small, intimate wedding. Only their closest relatives were present: Chaik, Mrs. Robertson, Deputy Washington, and a few close friends. The wedding was filled with love and hope. It symbolized the end of the dark days in Amara's life. Amara and Marcus wanted to further expand their Esther's Voice organization. Now, they aim to help women and children not only locally but also internationally. With her new family, Amara had regained control of her life. The darkness in her past had transformed into a light that empowered her. Amara and Marcus's lives had taken on new meaning. However, Amara still struggled to fully escape the shadows of her past. The traumas she carried within her would occasionally shake her, causing her to wake up with nightmares and anxiety. Amara decided to share her experiences with the public. To give women a voice and empower them, she founded the NGO Esther's Voice. This organization fought to help and protect victims of human trafficking and to bring perpetrators to justice. Marcus always supported her, speaking about the struggle in his sermons and raising community awareness. One day, thanks to Amara's testimony and the documents she provided, another human trafficking network Kwame was linked to was uncovered. This network operated in various countries and targeted numerous women. Amara and Marcus took an active role in the cases, both providing a voice for the victims and working to ensure justice. Of course, things weren't easy. She was forced to confront threats, intimidation, and shadows from her past. But the support and love she received strengthened her. Her bond with Mrs. Robertson, Chaik, and Deputy Washington remained unbroken. Together, they continued to fight to save more lives. Ultimately, those affiliated with Kwame's network were arrested and received serious sentences. This was a great victory for Amara. The fear and pain she had experienced in the past had become a beacon of hope for the community. David was now growing up in a safe environment, overflowing with the love of his mother and Marcus. Amara continued to work to bring Esther's Voice to an international stage. Her story gave hope to many women, and many followed in her footsteps, changing their own lives. Amara's life had changed completely, but a new journey was opening up. As Esther's Voice grew internationally, new challenges arose. Amara traveled frequently to hear the stories of victims from different countries and to touch their lives. In this process, she aimed to collaborate with governments and international organizations to launch a more effective fight against human trafficking. As David grew, Amara faced new responsibilities and anxieties related to motherhood. The effects of trauma could sometimes strain family life. Marcus was a strong support throughout this process, working to keep the family together. Amara's public stance did not sit well with some criminals. One night, threatening letters sent to her home deeply shook her and her family. However, this did not deter Amara. On the contrary, it strengthened her courage and determination. During this time, Amara met other women's rights advocates fighting similar struggles. They were stronger together. Solidarity and unity were a significant step in the fight against human trafficking. Amara was developing projects to transform Esther's Voice from a mere aid organization into a center for education and awareness. Education, especially for young girls and women, would be the greatest weapon against human trafficking. Despite everything, Amara's hope remained. Despite the painful memories of the past, she was striving step by step toward a future filled with new hope. The more Amara learned about the global dimensions of human trafficking, the more she realized she was at the center of a dark web. It required not just individual rescues, but a systematic fight. This also required confronting her own fears and erasing the traces of the past. During her work, Amara encountered some of her old enemies. Kwame's illegal business partners still lurked in the shadows. Some tried every possible means to silence Amara, but she was determined not to be held captive by fear. From time to time, Amara flashed back to her dark days. Feelings of helplessness, fear, and guilt overwhelmed her. But with the support of Marcus and Chaik, she learned to cope with these feelings. Therapy and support groups gave her strength. Amara launched a new campaign called Lost Voices to break the chains of the past. This campaign aimed to give the voices of human trafficking victims a voice to the world and make their stories visible. Amara's story was at the heart of the campaign. Following her speech at the United Nations, many countries began enacting new laws against human trafficking. Amara monitored the implementation of these regulations and collaborated with governments when necessary. She worked to leave a better world for her son, David, and children like him. Through education and awareness-raising projects, she aimed to ensure that younger generations were better equipped to combat human trafficking. Despite every challenge, despite every threat, Amara's courage and determination shone through, because she knew that true strength lies in finding light, even in the darkness. Amara was shaken by what she learned about the complex and ruthless world of human trafficking. The capture of Kwame and his network was a tremendous victory in itself, but the war was far from over. Darkness, in various guises, continued to threaten her life and those around her. Every morning, she woke up and confronted the fears of her past. The hardest part was the inner conflict created by the trauma she had experienced. She blamed herself, asking, "Why didn't I escape sooner?" But with Marcus and Chike's support, she began to forgive herself. It was a long and difficult road. One day, Marcus took her to a support group. There, she met women who had experienced similar suffering. Hearing their stories eased her own loneliness. These women had transformed their pain into strength, finding a new lease on life. Inspired by them, Amara decided to share her story with the world. The campaign, titled Lost Voices, launched a movement to make victims of human trafficking visible, to help them, and to eradicate this crime. The campaign spread rapidly across media, social media, and international platforms. Amara's courage gave hope to millions. Her moving speech at the United Nations Human Rights Council resonated worldwide. Laws began to change and governments began to implement stricter measures. But Amara knew this was only the beginning. As the fight continued, she would continue to work to eradicate human trafficking for years to come. David was inspired by his mother's struggle during those days. Amara taught her son the importance of humanity and love, raising him to be a brave and conscious child. For, in her view, future generations could erase this dark stain on humanity. The greatest strength Amara found in confronting the darkness was herself. Reconciling with her past, healing her wounds, and choosing light over darkness. This was her greatest victory. Rebirth. Life was slowly taking shape for Amara after those dark days. As the Lost Voices campaign grew, she, too, began to reconcile with her own inner strength. The burden of the past no longer weighed her down, but rather guided her. Her marriage to Marcus was built on a solid foundation. The love, trust, and respect they shared were the greatest strengths in Amara's reconnection. Every morning, they ate breakfast together, planned the day, and discussed their hopes for the future. Marcus respected Amara's recovery, patiently standing by her side without forcing her. David, on the other hand, was growing up, emulating his mother's strength and courage. Playing with other children on the playground, he would often hug his mother and say, "Mama, I'm like a strong woman." Amara would smile and say, "Yes, son, you are strong too." Amara's organization, Esther's Voice, was gaining international recognition. With new projects, it helped women achieve financial independence and empowered them with education and psychological support. Thanks to her leadership, many women had escaped darkness and rebuilt their lives. One evening, sitting with Marcus under the porch lights of their home, Amara took a deep breath. "I know we still have so much work to do," she said, "but just knowing that we are here today, at peace and safe, is an incredible feeling." Marcus held her hand. "Walking with someone like you is like changing the world." In that moment, Amara realized that the chains of the past had been broken, and in their place, a new life, woven with hope and love, had emerged. From darkness to light, a new chapter was opening in Amara's life. As Esther's voice grew rapidly, she herself had become not only a survivor but also a strong leader. The daily requests for help meant new dreams and challenges. One morning, Amara was working in her office when the phone rang. It was a young woman from another country, a victim of trafficking. Amara immediately assembled a team to support her and created a rapid response plan to ensure her safety. Meanwhile, David had made new friends at school and was beginning to adapt to the joys of life. Marcus and Amara, in addition to always providing a loving home, wanted him to be a child who would protect and change the world. Despite her past traumas, Amara looked in the mirror every morning and smiled not with fear, but with pride. She had accepted the pain of the past and transformed it into a source of healing and strength. One day, she appeared as a guest on a local television program. She told her story and encouraged women. The applause and messages of support at the end of the interview reaffirmed to her that the path is right. At night, Marcus and Amara would plan for the future together, discussing new projects. They held each other tightly to overcome challenges on their path to becoming a voice for women. Amara now knew only one truth. No matter how deep the darkness, light always comes. And she was right in the middle of that light. Eternal hope. Amara's journey ended with a great victory, but her story would never end. Years of pain, fear, and struggle had given way to strength and love. Now she was a beacon of hope not just for herself, but for millions of women like her. David was growing up, inspired by his mother's courage. The family he and Marcus had built had become a home woven with love, far from the shadows of the past. Amara had become the voice of women who always struggled but never gave up. His speech at the United Nations was still remembered. The words he spoke there had reached people around the world, creating a wave of change. Her story was proof that even in the darkest moments of tragedy, light can emerge. Now, Esther's voice was even stronger. As an international network, it was on the front lines of the fight against human trafficking. An infinite hope shone in Amara's eyes, and at that very moment, as the sun was setting, Amara whispered, "No matter how long the darkness lasts, the light always comes. And remember, your voice can be someone else's freedom. Never be silent. Never give up." If you were inspired by this story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more. This is a place filled with stories, encouragement, and real-life moments. Tales from Africaa YouTube channel. We are stronger together. Tell your story. Make your voice heard.